ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ. Welcome to this segment of Khoj Gurbani's a-sabad-a-day, and our recitation will be Gaudi Mahalla Pehla. Seva ek n Janaas Avare, par panch bead te aage kavare. Pae mile sach sache sachre. ਐਸਾ ਰਾਮ ਭਗਤ ਜਨ ਹੋਏ, ਹਰ ਗੁਣ ਗਾਏ ਮਿਲੇ ਮਲ ਧੋਈ ਰਹਾਓ. ਊਂਧੋ ਕਵਲ ਸਗਲ ਸੰਸਾਰੈ, ਦੁਰਮਤ ਅਗਨ ਜਗਤ ਪਰਜਾਰੈ. ਸੋ ਉਬਰੈ ਗੁਰ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਵਿਚਾਰੈ, ਭ੍ਰਿੰਗ ਪਤੰਗ ਕੁੰਚਰ ਅਰ ਮੀਨਾ. ਮਿਰਗ ਮਰੈ ਸਹਿ ਆਪਣਾ ਕੀਨਾ, ਕਾਮ ਚਿਤੇ ਕਾਮਿਨ ਹਿਤਕਾਰੀ. ਕ੍ਰੋਧ ਬਿਨਾਸੈ ਸਗਲ ਵਿਕਾਰੀ, ਪਤ ਮਤ ਖੋਵੈ ਨਾਮ ਵਿਸਾਰੀ. ਪਰ ਘਰ ਚੀਤ ਮਨ ਮੁਖ ਡੁਲਾਏ, ਗਲ ਜੇਵਰੀ ਤੰਦੈ ਲਪਟਾਏ. ਗੁਰਮੁਖ ਛੂਟਸ ਹਰ ਗੁਣ ਗਾਏ, ਜਿਉ ਤਨ ਬਿਦਵਾ ਪਰ ਕੋ ਦੇਈ. ਕਾਮ ਧਾਮ ਚਿਤ ਪਰਵਸ ਸਈ, ਬਿਨ ਪਿਰ ਤ੍ਰਿਪਤ ਨਾ ਕਬਹੂ ਹੋਈ. ਪੜ੍ਹ ਪੜ੍ਹ ਪੋਥੀ ਸਿਮਰਤ ਪਾਠਾ, ਵੇਦ ਪੁਰਾਨ ਪੜ੍ਹੈ ਸੁਣੇ ਥਾਟਾ. ਬਿਨ ਰਸ ਰਾਤੇ ਮਨ ਬਹੁ ਨਾਠਾ, ਜਿਉ ਚਾਤ੍ਰਿਕ ਜਲ ਪ੍ਰੇਮ ਪਿਆਸਾ. ਜਿਉ ਮੀਨਾ ਜਲ ਮਾਹੇ ਉਲਾਸਾ, ਨਾਨਕ ਹਰ ਰਸ ਪੀ ਤ੍ਰਿਪਤਾਸਾ. ਜਿਉ ਚਾਤ੍ਰਿਕ ਜਲ ਪ੍ਰੇਮ ਪਿਆਸਾ, ਜਿਉ ਮੀਨਾ ਜਲ ਮਾਹੇ ਉਲਾਸਾ. ਨਾਨਕ ਹਰ ਰਸ ਪੀ ਤ੍ਰਿਪਤਾਸਾ. Again, the Guru is talking about what a true devotee, a true bhagat looks like, or what does the bhagat do? In the Rahau, he says, "Aisa Ram bhagat jan hoi, har gun gaye mila mal toi." The true devotee of the Ram self, of the Supreme Being, washes the dirt of Haume consciousness, duality, with the solvent of self-knowledge. So one way of looking at this is the dirt of Haume consciousness. If you think about consciousness as a stream, as though it were a river, except this is a river of consciousness, then Haume, the ego consciousness, what it does as it is flowing in the stream is it creates a residue, grime, that gets attached to it. What that does is it actually makes the water of this consciousness, so to speak, dirty, opaque. You can't see the bottom, you can't see through it. So the Ram Bhagat, what does the Ram Bhagat do? Gun gaye mile mal toy. The Ram Bhagat is engaged in cleansing the residue of this dirt from the stream of consciousness, so that the stream of consciousness is clear. Seva ek n Janaas Avare, par panch bead tyage kavare. Pae mile sach sache sachre. This is the first verse where the Guru says that the foolish mind, Avare, knows not how to serve the One. In other words, it doesn't really know how to clean. its own stream of consciousness. It doesn't know how to clean it. So what happens is it gets caught in the residue of action that creates, that kind of fogs the mind up. So the Guru is saying, Seva ekana Janaas Avare, the foolish mind does not know how quite to do this. And then he tells us how it is done. He says, Parpanch bead tyage kavare. The one is served by curing the disease of duality. It's this duality that is creating this residue. And how's that done? Paye mile sach. Through devotion and love is the self found. In other words, the self is the stream of pure consciousness, the Har self that we call, and the ego self is what is muddying the waters. So it is cleansed through devotion, the solvent of devotion, love and good wisdom. Har gun gai, mile mal toi. That's the central message in this. And now the Guru speaks about the condition of humans. The heat of faulty thinking has singed the world. Durmat agana jagat par jare. Durmat, wrong thinking, false ideas, self-willed thinking. Agan, the fire of desire. Jagat par jare. It singes the mind. The world is actually burnt by this. It's touched by desire. And in the process, undho kaval sagal sansare. Undho kaval, the lotus of self-knowledge has withered. In other words, the stream of pure consciousness has receded. And only the word of Gur wisdom. So ubare gur sabad-a-day. Only the word of Gur wisdom can save us. So the thing is that we actually bring upon ourselves our own problems, our own destruction, as the Guru is saying. Pringa patanga kunchar armina, mirgamara sah apna kina, trishna rach tat nahi bina. Like the bumblebee, the moth, the elephant, the fish and the deer, the individual is also blinded by temptation, trishna rach, soaked, unaware of the lurking dangers. Tat nahi bina, bina see. So like the animal gets trapped because it's tempted, similarly, the mind gets trapped because it is tempted and it doesn't quite see the danger. And the Guru then offers us an example. Bereft of self-knowledge, he says, the mind loses its reason and judgment. That's what happens to us. And when it is overcome with lust, advances upon the object of its desire. And if it is thwarted for some reason, if desire is checked, it boils over in anger. And anger is the root of all problems. It's destructive. Anger destroys. Krodh binase. So kam chita kamin hitkare. With lust in the mind, the paramour, so to speak, advances upon the object of desire. Krodh binase sagal vikare. Anger destroys. It's the root of all defects. Patamat kove naam visare. Self-knowledge is lost. Discernment and reason is lost. And not only that, but the self will covet other people's possessions. Par ghar chit manamukh dolle. And the news of worldly affairs is wrapped around the neck of the Manmukh. Gal Jevari, Tande Laptai. How are you going to release this news? Because it's this news that is going to eventually kill you, spiritually, that is. It is released through the virtue of good wisdom. So we are all mired in the affairs of the world, Tande Laptai. And we become greedy. We are always hankering after another's possessions. And that's the noose around our neck that tightens its grip every day. But the Guru-guided, Gurumukh, escape this fate because they cultivate the virtue of good wisdom. Har Gun Gai. And here again is another example of how worldly desires can never be satiated. Gratification is never reached. Jyotan bidwa parko dei. Like the widow. Widow, a woman without a husband, but in more generic terms, it means one who is deprived. So Jyotan bidwa parko dei. One who is deprived, like a widow who offers herself to a stranger. That's the idea. Kama dama chit paravasasai, or the lustful who buy sexual favors. Such people, the Guru says, can never find true gratification. Bin pir tripatana kabhu hui. Actually, the union that they are looking for is union with the self, not with another body. And the same goes with too much reading of the scriptures or listening to the epics. Pad pothi simrat patha, Ved Puran pade sun thata, bin ras rate man bah nata. So no matter how many texts you read, no matter how much scripture you recite, no matter that you know the 4 Vedas and the 28 Puranas, or the epics, it doesn't matter. Unless the mind is soaked in the sap, the essence, which is the self, it will carry on its perpetual dance. Bin rasa rate man bah nata. It will continue to dance, waver. That's the idea. So the Guru says, like the rainbird lovingly awaiting for the raindrop to fall in its mouth, like a fish delights in being in the water, Nanak's thirst was slaked by drinking at the fount of self-knowledge. So it is self-knowledge that we have to pursue for our innate thirst to be satisfied. Else we will continue to be misled by the mind and die a spiritual death. On that note, until the next time, Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.